Let's automate non-player character generation using the tables from the 5th edition of the Dungeon Master's Guide for Dungeons and Dragons. Welcome to my channel. I focus on tabletop role-playing games, video games, and science fiction. I'm going to show you how to enable PowerShell first. So I'm running Windows 10. If I go to Cortana and I type in PowerShell, PowerShell shows up here. If I right-click, I need to run as administrator the first time. And I need to have to say yes. And let me maximize this and make the font so everybody can read it. How's that sound? So we get a nice screen that everybody can read. So the first thing we need to do is that out of the box, PowerShell is set in restricted mode. And we have to turn that off. So if I do a get execution policy, it will say restricted, which is what you will normally see. Now, PowerShell supports a bunch of things like keyboard. If I hit the up arrow key and it'll repeat it, and I hit the home and I get to the beginning and I change it from get to set. Then I hit the end key. And I need to set it to unrestricted. Okay. Hit return. And this is warning me. And I need to say yes. So now I have PowerShell is unrestricted. I can run my script. So here let's exit out because this is running in administrator. We'll just run PowerShell normally. Now I can, if you've got this icon down here in the bottom, that means PowerShell is on your taskbar, or you can just type PowerShell. Now this time I don't need to run it as administrator. I can just run it. And this one is already set up to do this. So let me get to the correct directory. Well, this is the program. We'll show this one in a minute. So I'm going to cd and paste the directory. So this is where my PowerShell script lives, and this will be out on Google Drive, so you can get this and download this if you're interested. And I can just type dir and it will give me a directory. And it has a bunch of things. We'll go through this in a second. I have a script, NPC 5e PS1. The .ps1 says that that's a PowerShell script. The NPC 5e, because we're doing it for that. So to execute a PowerShell script, the syntax is a little odd. If I'm in this directory, I just need to do period /NPC5e.ps1. And let's see what it generates. So this says I created an Adeline, who's a human female, and there's her stats, strength of 5, and so on. She's got pierced ears. Her talent is great at one game. Her mannerism is she squints. Her interaction trait is she's a bit arrogant. She's lawful good. Her ideals are tradition, respect, and redemption. Her bond is drawn to a special place, but she has a flaw of forbidden love. All of these came straight out of the tables in the Dungeon Master's Guide in 5th edition. So let me explain a little bit of how this works. I'm not going to go into detail of how this script works. The only other thing I will show you is if I say, oh, I can type in, if I say, give me 3, if I type in a number, it will give me that many NPCs. So you can see that this one created Lamar, Ashur, and Sean. These are all happen to be human females. There's human male, human female, and we'll talk about how it does all of this. Now this is a bit technical, and I'm going to gloss over a bunch of things, but I just wanted to cover a few things quickly. So first off, let's make the font much larger so that you can actually read it. We'll make it bold so it shows up nicely. So I'm just going to explain a couple of things about how this works and the compromises and such that I did with this. So the first thing is that this param is how it knows how to take it. It reads the number from the command line. By default, it's 1. Otherwise, you put in the number of that. I'll talk about this function is to look up the ideals. The ideals get a little strange because of the way they're done in the 5th edition. So we start a for loop. The first thing I do is I generate the gender. And there is a file called gender.txt. And gender.txt has 2 lines, male and female. If you want to add other genders, go ahead. That's fine. The other thing is the way the PowerShell script works. If, say, I wanted to do something like I had 3 times as many females as I did males, I could just put female in there 3 times and it will occur. It reads the entire file, then it randomly selects a line from the file. So that's the way the way we're working here is we randomly select a gender. And I'll explain the reason why. We then go looking into what I call it generates a name file variable. So if you create other genders, I have a female text file and a male text file. I created these by, you can go out on the census department and get a bunch of first names and so on from earlier censuses, and that's what this does. This is actually from the census files. I sorted this out. There are 4,217 different first names, and you can edit this to your heart's content or put them in there. Or if we'll talk about race in a minute. If you wanted to do something with race, I didn't want to get into that. That got a little bit ugly. And then the same thing with the female text. These are also generated from the Census Bureau. By the way, I did a video. I'll put a link down in the description where I pulled out some of the horrible names people named their children, but that's another discussion. So we get back to this. It generates the gender. First thing we do is we find the gender. Then based upon the gender, we get the name, because that's the first thing I want to output is the name. And as we see here, that's the first thing, the first line is the name. Now, the race, it does something very simple. Race, reads through race text and generates a get random. So if I pull up the race file, what this does is this lists all the races that are in the player's handbook and Volo's guide. One of the things that I did was I put humans in there there are 22 races here that are non-human. So I put 220 instances of human, so that 90% of the characters it's going to generate are human. You can this is a text file, you can edit with Notepad, and you're just going to see a lot of human in there and so on. So that's how it selects the race. So there we see where we have race human, and we've already done gender. Now, the 5th edition DMG doesn't say that you need to generate all the stats. You just need to basically generate the highest and lowest. I found it easier to just generate all the stats. It's actually simpler the coding is simpler to do that than to do what they wanted, which was to generate the high and low. I didn't want to have to explain how to do that. It's just a little bit more interesting. So what happens is this goes through, these are my attributes, they're in an array, it goes through, it calls a get random with a minimum of 1, a maximum of 7. I know it sounds like it's 7, but the maximum is not included, so it generates a number between 1 and 6 and adds the three of them up. That's how it gets the attributes, and then it writes out the attributes. Then we go through with appearance. It reads the appearance file, the talents file, and the mannerisms file, and the interaction traits. And then that's interaction traits. Then we go through the alignment table. Okay, now the alignment table is a little interesting. It just contains all of our 9 alignments: lawful good, lawful neutral. And again, if you wanted to say there were more lawful good, you just duplicate the line as many times as you want. So because it just looks through all the lines and randomly selects a line. But right now I'm making all of them equal. But true neutral was the one that got a little odd, because it's how we generate the interaction traits. So, well, actually, because what happens is that we take the alignment and it splits it into the 2 pieces. So we have the 2 words, good and law, neutral, chaos, and so on. And then we ignore if it's a true neutral. So then we go through lookup ideal, which is this function where we pass in one of the things like lawful, good, and whatever. So it will go through and look at, this is, oh wait, split the screen. So if I take a look at here, so like this is the evil ideal. So these are the ideals for evil. These are right out of the DMG. And the good ideal, and so on. And we have the same thing for neutral ideal. We also have chaotic ideal, and so on. So this is how it. The neutral ideal is the odd one, which is the neutral. So it goes through and pulls out all the ideals, and then we look up other. Then there was the other table, which was kind of strange, but that's the other ideal, which is aspiration, discovery, glory, nation, redemption, and self-knowledge. So that's how we get the list of ideals, and we output the list of ideals. They're joined with a comma, space between them. These are, I'm not going to get into the PowerShell, but that's how you see that we get the ideals are change, balance, and glory for this character, and the change, the ideals is tradition, slaughter, and redemption. What is this? This is sure a human female, pierced lip, with animals, makes constant jokes, is honest, but is lawful evil. The slaughter fits well with that. That gives you interesting. Enjoys decadent pleasures. Oh, this is an interesting player character. Just brought by random. This Ashura. I like this one. And that's a. But yeah, enjoys decadent pleasures and enjoys slaughter. Yeah, okay. Get some interesting ones. There's our ideal, our bonds, and our flaws. What is Ashura's flaw? Yeah, it enjoys decadent pleasures. So we have this. So this is a little script. I'm not going to more detail about this one. You have to enable PowerShell unrestricted, and you just run it from there. This will, this could generate as many as you want. And the advantage to this is that with your cursor, you can copy this. Like, for example, I'm going to copy this character here, and that puts that in my copy buffer. So if I come back over here, and I'm just going to find Ashura.txt, and this gives me this character. Okay, I misspelled it. No, I didn't. Ashura. Okay, so I saved the file, but it's a simple little file. If we take a look at what's in the directory here, this is what's there. You can edit all the text files to your heart's content. They're out of the player's handbook, and it's a short little PowerShell script, and it'll allow you to generate NPCs very quickly. I mean, if I want to generate, well, let's do this. If I do CLS, will clear the screen. And if I do the NPC, and I want to generate 10 of them, I can do that. And I can actually do that, and I can output the file to NPC npc10.txt, and it came back, and if I look in my directory here, and there's my 10 NPCs that I generated quickly. So, like I said, if you wanted something a little bit more in detail about how some of this works, I'll put the link to the previous PowerShell script that I created, and this one is for generating NPCs using the rules in the DMG 5th edition. Thank you for watching my video. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all your comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I appreciate both forms of feedback. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon on the left. If you're interested, there's more content on the right.